Hello and welcome back to Miguelodon's MMA Awards. This is the third list. Sorry I've been gone for a while. I got a little bit injured, so I've been on bed rest for a while. But anyway, enough with that. Probably hear more about that in a future video. But let's get on to this list. The third list in the series. Top fights of 2024. Let's get it. First one up, we got Jim Miller versus King Green. I think he was Bobby Green at the time, but we'll call him King Green. And this happened at UFC 300. Now, you might see this and be like, what? This fucking fight was one-sided. Yes, it was, because King Green fucking dominated Jim Miller for 3 rounds. Bloodied him up. Look at that. The only blood on King Green's face is Jim Miller's. The reason why I put this as number 12, not only because of King Green's performance, and how brutal fucking he beat the shit out of Jim Miller, but also mainly because of Jim Miller. Like, he might have gotten rocked there a few times, but this fight went the whole distance. Unanimous decision win for King Green. But Jim Miller was in it. He kept pushing forward. He kept trying. He never once wavered. Oh, jeez. Wavered like my voice just there. If it wavered or withered? I think it's withered. I fucked that up. But anyway, he was in there. His heart was there. He never wanted to he didn't want to give up. He showed incredible grit, and that's why I put it on here. Because the entire time I was watching the fight, I was just like, how the fuck is Jim Miller not dead? Like, this man keeps coming. Like, how? How is that possible? Like, look at his face. In the bottom right-hand corner, look at his face. And he just kept going. He kept trying for takedowns. He kept throwing punches. It's just like there was no quitting him. And then, obviously, King Green's performance was ridiculous. I think this was after his really horrible Jalen Turner stoppage. That referee needs to be studied. That was ridiculous. So it was cool to see him back. I'm like, yes, he's still there. But anyway, that's why I put this at number 12. Really great fight. I should have said this in the beginning, but everyone should go watch these fights. If you have friends who aren't fans of MMA, show them some of these fights on this list, and they'll probably shit themselves because of how awesome they are. Anyway, next up, number 11 is Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura at UFC 310. I think this was the last pay-per-view of the year last year. You might see the 11 spot and be like, what? That fight was a banger. I agree. Pantoja was amazing. This man, I should admit it, he proved me wrong. Well, I didn't think Asakura was going to take it, but I wanted Asakura to take it because I thought Pantoja was a born champion. Sure, he gets in there in the pocket and, goes for takedowns and grittiness, whatever, right? But I really hated because you could tell when he gets exhausted, he just kind of takes people down because he can, and then just kind of holds them there. And I'm like, no thanks. I think Kai Asakura made the joke of making the flyweight division great again.
I'm here to make UFC flyweight division great again.
And I was like, yes, please. I've seen your fights. You're kind of like that sporadic striker. I'd love to see that. But deep down in the back of my head, I knew there's no fucking way he was going to win this fight. I mean, obviously he could have won it. Anything could happen in MMA. But you know what I mean. This guy's coming from a different promotion, and we all know the UFC has the best caliber of fighters in any MMA promotion at the moment, so it was kind of given that Pantoja was going to finish him. But I was still surprised by Pantoja. I was just like, yes, okay, sorry, Pantoja, my bad. I didn't mean to, I didn't know you had game like that. I mean, obviously he had game. He's a fucking champion, but you know what I mean. And shout out Asakura. I think he did okay. I mean, it only lasted the second round. But I think he did good enough. His striking looked okay. He took some big shots from Pantoja. He hit that fly knee. I think it landed. I don't think it hit him in the face, but maybe in the sternum. Like, he's there. Like, his skill is there. But there are levels to this. Shout out Corey Anderson. I want to see more of Asakura. And I don't know what the fuck to do with Pantoja. This man just destroyed his division. But anyway, yeah, I'd like to see more of Asakura. I don't think he will be a champion in the UFC. Maybe top 6, maybe. I can see Moreno finishing him. I can see Royval finishing him. I'd like to see Asakura versus Topuria Taira. I think that'd be cool. But anyway, let's get on to number 10. This fight was awesome. Shout out both of these guys. Next up is Joaquin Buckley and Colby Covington. So I feel like I'm building a little bit of a reputation being a an advocate for Joaquin Buckley. And I feel like this fight made people realize, like, okay, Buckley is pretty with the shits. He's skillful. He could potentially become champion. Like I said, and multiple people said, definitely the most improved fighter. Went from a nothing in the middleweight division to almost potentially being a champion in the welterweight division. And also, this kind of was good for Colby Covington too, because this was a short notice fight. Ian Gary stepped at the fight, Shavkat. So Joaquin was just like, who am I going to fight? Colby Covington steps in. And honestly, Colby didn't look horrible. I know we like to hate on Colby, and Joaquin Buckley obviously probably, this is going to sound fucked up, but 10 out of 10 times Joaquin Buckley beats Colby Covington. This one just so happened to be with a really bad cut. But Colby Covington didn't look bad. He looked pretty good. He looked a lot better than that Leon Edwards performance. He was like in there, like look at his face. He's busted open, but he still kept going. The doctor stopped it. The only reason why it's lower is because of the doctor stoppage. We didn't really get to see more fight. I feel like it was ramping up, but then the doctor interfered. But, you know, shout out her, because Colby Covington could have lost an eye, and we don't want that. I want to see more of Colby Covington now. I obviously want to see more of Joaquin Buckley. This fight was awesome. It seemed like there was a little bit of a momentum shift. Like, it was potentially leaning in Colby's favor. I know people might get mad at me for saying that, but look at this, bro. I am a Joaquin Buckley fan. I've been defending this man for a while. Shout out New Mansa. I wouldn't be surprised if he becomes champion. I'm honestly hoping for that. It's on my bingo card for this year. There was a little bit of a momentum shift with Colby Covington. I feel like, no, he wasn't gassing. Joaquin wasn't gassing, but I feel like it was like, oh, okay, he's still here. Like, he was more shook. Like, I busted this dude open. I'm kind of kicking his ass, but he's still here. Okay, shit. I should be careful. Like, you know. And I think Colby got him down a few times. So, yeah, this fight was awesome. I love this fight. Shout out both of these guys. Shout out my boy New Mansa, and shout out my boy Chaos. Number 9, Dan Hooker versus Mateusz Gamrot. So, this is just going to be a side note. Looking up pictures for this fight was the most annoying fucking thing ever because of Dan Hooker's last name. When you type in Dan, H, Google starts autofilling. When you type in Hooker, it stops. And it's like, well, we can't find the searches. I was like, no, yes, you can. It's a person. His name's Dan Hooker. This fight was awesome. I was thinking about putting the Jalen Turner fight on here, but I think this one took it. This one takes it over the Jalen Turner fight. Because my boy Dan Hooker is back. Dan the Hangman Hooker, man. You know what I'm saying? And Mateusz Gamrot looked good. A lot of people are like, oh, Mateusz Gamrot's fucking boring. I mean, because he has, like, boring performances against Mateusz Gamrot. He kind of fluked his way into a win against Fiziev. Well, not really fluked his way. Fiziev damaged himself. And then who else did Mateusz Gamrot fight? Arman Sarukian. That one was a good fight, but Arman definitely should have won it. So, Mateusz Gamrot wasn't the most favorable fighter, like, fan favorite. A lot of people did not like Mateusz Gamrot. I didn't mind him. I didn't mind his smudge style. His striking's pretty decent. And I feel like this fight showed what he is. Mateusz Gamrot's a good fighter, and they both went back and forth. It was a split decision win for Hooker, and they were both in there. I was surprised by both of them. Both of their performances was awesome. Feel like I want people to stop calling Mateusz Gamrot boring. I remember with the Beneil Dariush one, people were like, oh, fraud check. Gamrot sucked, bro. And then, you know, he started picking up those fluky wins. And then he fights Dan Hooker, and he's just like, okay, maybe this guy is skilled. Maybe this guy is high level because Dan Hooker has his resurgence. He's fighting Justin Gaethje soon. Shout out that fight. That's going to be awesome. But Dan Hooker had this resurgence, shows that he's still that guy with the skill. And it also proves that Gamrot's still a high-level fighter. Like, he's not boring. The fight was awesome. The back and forth was crazy. There was momentum shifts at every corner. I was very I was choosing Hooker to win this. I was very nervous in the last round. I was just like, oh, who's going to win this? It's 1-1, maybe 2-0. Like, who knows? But I feel like the right person won. Good fight. Both men should be very proud of themselves. I know it looks like Gamrot's a little upset right here that he didn't win the decision. But keep your head up, man. That was a good performance. And you proved to people that you're not fucking boring. So let's go. Number 8. Dricus du Plessis, my boy, versus Israel Adesanya, who is kind of my boy. I don't hate Adesanya as much as I used to. Shout out Dricus. The weirdest fucking style I've ever seen. I think Izzy in his video with Robert Whitaker said Dricus is the best shit fighter, which I kind of understand because he's so unpredictable. He looks goofy when he's striking sometimes. But it works. Look, he submitted Adesanya. Fuck yeah. And then there was this whole storyline leading up to this fight. And then the fight was awesome. Izzy fucking set records on Dricus with his strikes. Izzy looked good. Like, he didn't want to just fucking... He lost to fucking, what's his name? Sean Strickland. He wanted his get back. He wanted to be like, okay, I lost that fight, but I am better than that. And he was kind of showing it in this Dricus fight. Stopping some of the takedowns. Really good striking. Dricus, constant pressure. Mixing in the grappling. Tiring Adesanya out until he got that finish. Great game plan from both of them. Great performances from both of these guys. This fight was a banger. Number 8 we're on number 7 now. Petr Yan versus Deiveson Figueiredo. Okay, the reason why I was talking about the fucking Adesanya Dricus fight, like, oh, it's awesome. Why is a non-championship fight over that one? The reason why is because not only Petr Yan resurgence, also Deiveson Figueiredo's proving that he has fucking amazing skill. Probably the second best flyweight. And arguably one of the top 5 fucking bantamweights. Could potentially become a bantamweight champion. He looks good. Like, his fight against Cody Garbrandt, he looked good. Rob Font, he destroyed. Did he fight Rob Font? Or he probably did. But he fought Chito Vera, also looked good in there. And then this fight, I honestly thought Deiveson Figueiredo was going to take it. And he actually dropped Yan. I think Yan dropped him. This fight was back and forth. Just high-level technical shit. It didn't end in a finish like the last fight. But this was like some of the highest level MMA. And this was overall just really well done. It was like a chess match. Both of these guys respected each other, but both of these guys wanted to win, prove themselves. Petr Yan wants to get back in the title scene, and Deiveson Figueiredo wants to become a double champ. So like both of these guys came in there to prove something, and it shows. Sure, they're not bloody. Sure, no one was knocked out or submitted, but these boys showed up and wanted to put on a show for the fans, and they did. And it was one of the greatest high-level matches I've ever seen with striking, grappling. Like I said, they both dropped each other. Shit was awesome. Next up is number 6 on the list. Wow, the number's right there, and I couldn't even remember. But anyway, Alex Pereira versus Khalil Rountree. This fight was awesome for various reasons. A lot of people like to say Khalil Rountree gave Pereira the hardest fight. I don't think so. Jan Blachowicz still takes that cake. But the reason why it's number 6 is because Pereira is just that guy. He keeps fighting anyone, anywhere, proving that he is company man for the UFC. And a lot of people were like, Khalil Rountree was way too good. I was surprised by Khalil Rountree's skill because he was ranked number 8 fighting the champion. And he did pretty good in like the first couple of rounds. But clearly you could tell Pereira's game plan was to be patient because it was at altitude. He gassed out against Jan Blachowicz. Round 4, Pereira. That shit was amazing. Bro entered Ultra Instinct. I was like in awe this whole match. Like I was like on the edge of my seat for the first 2 rounds because it was really close. Sure, you could give it to Khalil Rountree those rounds, but I don't think he was dominating Pereira. And he wasn't even a drop. Pereira just lost balance. Khalil was hitting him with some shots, but you could tell Pereira wasn't hurt. So it was a good performance by Khalil Rountree, but calm down, dude. They're like, bro, Khalil Rountree honestly might be the second best, third best in the division, bro. He could beat Prohaska and all. Calm down. But anyway, Pereira, solid game plan, delivered it perfectly. Khalil Rountree, it shows that he still needs things to work on. His gas tank, his patience, not blowing his load. And it shows levels, man. And both performances by these guys were awesome. Pereira's 4th round was ridiculous. That was like the craziest head movement, Ultra Instinct shit I've ever seen. I don't think it looked almost like Anderson Silva. But anyway, yeah, this one ended in a finish actually. So there you go, people. Oh, finishes. I just love fights that extend and show skill sets on both fighters. So next up, number 5 is Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. This one had a lot of hype going into it, and also first time Max got cracked. His chin got cracked, and it shows that Ilia Topuria is that guy. Like he reminiscent of Conor McGregor being very cocky, talking a lot of shit, and saying that he'll beat everyone. Starting beefs with everyone, literally. How do you have beef with Max? Ilia Topuria is showing that he's one of the greatest fighters currently. I don't know where he's at in the pound-for-pound rankings, but I feel like he should definitely be up there. He beat Max and Volk. Like, come on. What the fuck? That almost is deserving of pound-for-pound number 1 if Makhachev, Jones, and Pereira weren't there. really close. Honestly, you get a few more wins, he could probably be pound for pound number 1. But Topuria was awesome in this match. Max had a good game plan, but Topuria just has that power. It was crazy. I'm like, still, I can't believe this picture right here in the middle. Max finished. I've never seen Max knocked out like that. Never seen him dropped. How many shots it took till he got dropped? It's insane. The best chin in the UFC. Tied with John Jones. I feel like John Jones might have the best chin now. But Max, one of the greatest chins. Insane. And Ilia Topuria, insane fucking skill. Guy's boxing is ridiculous. Guy's power is crazy. Because usually Max is really good at like keeping distance and stuff, but Topuria kept closing it, and it was clearly, you could tell, like, these guys were really evenly matched, but you could tell Topuria's equalizer, the power, because Max doesn't have that power. Like, he had the power to knock out Justin Gaethje if he, like, sits on his shots, but you don't want to do that with Topuria, and it shows. And Topuria did the little showman stuff in the beginning, where he, like, pointed into the middle of the octagon, and then Max did that. Like, it's fun seeing that stuff. And this fight was awesome. This was definitely a memorable fight. Very skilled, both of these guys. Topuria is just Timothy Neutron, bro. Even though Max Holloway said I'm him. Next up, Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier. This one, I wanted to put higher, but I think the other fights after this, after I watched all these fights on this list, I made the list and I watched them and then made the list accordingly. I had this one higher based off of memory, but after watching the other fights, I think this is a good spot for it. This fight was awesome. Islam's first, like, real title defense against an actual lightweight. Like, he's fought lightweights, obviously. Charles Oliveira, he won the title, but I'm talking about title defenses. He fought fucking Volkanovski, and then he fights Dustin Poirier. Like, the walkouts with Poirier, like, potentially it being his last fight with the shine bright like a diamond playing. Islam coming in, proving, like, yes, I can actually beat lightweights. Outstruck Poirier, but Poirier did really good. People were expecting Islam to starch him faster than Khabib did, but Poirier showed that he's still the diamond and he got that skill, bro. And then now he's thinking about not retiring, so the impact is still the same. This still could be his last fight. You never know. He's still thinking about it. So the impact is still the same. The hype is still the same. Incredible fight. We've never seen Islam this damaged, like, right here. The guy's put on one of the greatest performances I've seen, and it would definitely go in. I could see this being in the Hall of Fame this year, next year, sometime soon. But yeah, this fight was amazing. Next up, number 3, another fight I could see being in the Hall of Fame: Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt at UFC 300. This kind of had the same, like, hype as the Poirier Islam match, because Max was moving up from 145. People were like, Justin Gaethje's too powerful. He might be the first person to crack Max's chin, but then Max comes in here, shows everyone that they're all stupid and that what the fuck are you talking about? Max's chin is insane. Even that, he dropped him. You could definitely tell he dropped him, but they didn't count it. And Max is a good guy, so he was just like, yeah, Gaethje dropped me. So technically, first time we've ever seen Max dropped, but I think it only happened in, like, 4th round. Max, like, put on a clinic, made Gaethje look like an amateur, which is crazy, because Gaethje's usually really good. But, like, holy crap, Max's distance management, kicking his ass, broke his nose. And then, obviously, the last 10 seconds of the 5th round was incredible, pointing at the ground. Honestly, I was a little scared. When Max did that, I was just like, if you let Gaethje sit on a shot, you're going to probably get knocked out. Nope, I was wrong. Fucking Max knocked him out instead. This had the craziest hype in the world. I almost wanted to put this at number 1, but I think the other fights are better. But the whole fucking show, I watched this in the theater with my friend Josh. This shit was insane. Everyone in the theater jumped up when Max knocked him out. Everyone was just like, look, this is a pretty good fight. Oh, shit. No fucking, that type of shit. It was insane. This is definitely another Hall of Fame match. This one might be up there of greatest fights of all time, honestly. Well, maybe not greatest fights, maybe, like, memorable. But this was definitely one of the greatest fights of last year. I watched this one very frequently. This one's a banger. Anyway, next up, Mateusz Rebecki, I think is how you pronounce that, and Miktabik Orolbai. The pattern I was talking about in the beginning, obviously I like to see fights go the distance or grueling wars, back and forth, whatever. I also like seeing unranked guys prove themselves, and this is one of them. Miktabik Orolbai, I think this was his 3rd fight in the UFC, and I remember how many fights Rebecki had going into this fight. But both of these guys unranked, trying to get into the rankings. I think this was at lightweight, if I'm not mistaken. And a lot of people were hyping up Orolbai because, you know, he's from Kazakhstan, and, you know, those Kazakhstani, Russian, Georgian, all, you know, that whole area of fighters people like to hype up because, you know, Khabib and all those guys. So they're like, oh, who's these guys? You should be careful, because I think leading into this fight, Orolbai only had 1 loss. But both of these guys showed up and were, you could tell they're hungry. They're hungry to get into those rankings. This is what they want to do. They want to be champion. None of these guys withered. Like, look at how busted up. Look at it fucking Orolbai's face right here, right here, right here. And that's all fucking Rebecki's blood. His cut was due to a headbutt, but like an accidental clash of heads. So I won't highlight his damage too much. But Orolbai kept staying in there. Like, no matter how damaged he was, even fucking in the last round, Rebecki was definitely exhausted. I was just like, holy shit, if this was 5 rounds, it could have went in Orolbai's favor. But Rebecki had the better game plan for a 3-round fight. Beat his ass. They beat each other's ass. Like, it's ridiculous. This is one of the fights where this is kind of what MMA is. These guys were hungry to become ranked fighters and work their way up. Their hard work paid off in this fight. This fight was fucking awesome. And I think it was on the early prelims. I remember watching it. I don't think a lot of people were in the audience, which is disrespectful because everyone should have shown up for this fight. This is one of the greatest fights of last year. Second greatest fight of last year, actually. But even without a crowd, these guys were still fucking putting on a show. They don't care about the crowd. They don't care about the fame, the lights, or whatever. This showed you that they want to be champion. And I love that. I loved when unranked fighters go in there to prove themselves instead of, you know, like, oh, you know, withering, you know, shit. These guys are in it, and this is another Hall of Fame fight. I want this to be in the Hall of Fame. Shout out to both of these guys. And then the next fight, the last fight, is definitely a Hall of Fame fight as well. And this, it definitely takes the cake. Similar to this one, but I feel like the next fight is like this, but on steroids. Esteban Ribovics versus Daniel Zellhuber, which was at UFC 306, or Noche UFC, which was during Mexican Independence Day, so a lot of Mexican fighters came in. And it was also in the Sphere. Great fucking card, honestly. A lot of firsts. Well, not really first, because this was the second time for Mexican Independence Day, but first time in the Sphere. Anyway, very great presentation. These guys, once again, unranked fighters, just putting on a fucking banger. Like, sometimes when you're like, Islam and Poirier, you kind of expect it. 2 high-level guys. But these guys, I don't want to say they're nobodies, but they're just not ranked. You know what I'm saying? They're not nobody, like, oh, people know them, especially now after this fight. But these guys were not ranked fighters, and they put on a fucking show. That third round was fucking ridiculous. The first round, I was just like, okay, Zellhuber got that. Second round, I was like, okay, Ribovics got that. Third round was like the longest 5 minutes I've ever seen. I'm like, who's going to win this? Everyone's hurt, and then Ribovics comes out, and like, they're both hurt. And then Ribovics, I thought Zellhuber was winning the round until Ribovics just went in there and just started destroying him. I'm like, holy shit, bro. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I was kind of like jumping. I was freaking the fuck out watching this fight. And rewatching it was a gift because I kind of forgot the fight a little bit. But I'm like, I remember that fight being good. I think it should be number 1. Then I rewatched it and I was like, yeah, what the fuck? I just love the hunger that these guys showed. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if I could take the path of least resistance, or if I could just hold someone down, smudge him, get my money, move up in the rankings, right? No, these guys wanted to show, like, look at my skill. I could grapple, I could punch. It was fucking awesome. And both of these guys got hurt in the fight, but they kept going. Obviously, Zellhuber, I feel like, took the most damage. Esteban won this, and you can tell in this picture, I feel like most of the pictures, it looks like Zellhuber's hurt more than Ribovics, but holy shit, guys, do yourself a favor and watch this fight. That last round was like intense. The last 5 minutes were fucking intense. I was just like, I don't know how Zellhuber didn't, once again, like Jim Miller, I don't know how he didn't die. This man was getting lit up. I think when there was like 2 minutes left in the round, they showed the strike differential for the round. I think Esteban was at like 50, maybe 70 punches. And Zellhuber just almost like spent the rest of the round recovering, but he was still in it. Shout out the referee. I forgot who it was. It could have been Jason Herzog. I don't remember who the referee was, but shout out that referee for letting... Once again, I feel like I'm losing my train of thought because I'm too excited. But all 3 performances by Ribovics, Zellhuber, and the fucking referee. This was the greatest little, like, melting pot of an MMA fight. Everyone participated, and everyone did their job perfectly. Like I said before, I got too excited and got distracted, but I don't know how Zellhuber didn't die. And shout out that referee for letting Zellhuber stay in there, because there was a moment where the commentary was just like, bro, stop the fight. This referee needs to stop the fight. But then Zellhuber starts landing shots on Ribovics, and then he backs up. And I'm like, see, if you stop the fight, then he wouldn't have that opportunity. I mean, obviously, he was still hurt, but he was like running around the octagon trying to get his wits about him. Ribovics still had the pressure. It was like they were just throwing. It's like if you played the UFC game, you and your homie were just punching each other without blocking. These guys were going at it. I don't know how either of them weren't knocked out. It's insane. It's ridiculous. And that is why it is the greatest fight of last year. Once again, like, these guys that no one knows, like, people definitely know them now because of this fight. But if you're not, like, a hardcore fan watching these fights all the time, you don't know these guys. These guys were on the main card. People probably saw this. They're like, really? You got unranked fighters on the main card? Sure, one of them is Mexican, and it's a whole Noche UFC shit. But no, now you're like, okay, these guys, I'm going to expect bangers every time these guys fight, no matter who they fight. Honestly, I'd love to see a rematch in the future. I don't know how that would go. Maybe Zellhuber learns from his mistakes, or maybe Ribovics just has his number. Maybe stylistically, it's not a good fight for Zellhuber, but stylistically, I think it's a good fight for the fans. So shit was awesome. Anyway, that is my best fights of 2024 list. Thank you guys for watching. Sorry for being gone for a while. Like I said, bedridden, but I'm back. Clearly I'm back, boys. Still got the glasses on. I didn't forget. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Please like, subscribe, not subscribe. Or don't. I really don't care. Let me know in the comments. That's the one I really care about. I just like talking with you guys. But anyway, yeah, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day, fellas.